Hello, and welcome to the 29th of Decem-Baron 2020. I hope you'll excuse the noise. I was hoping to record while they had finished their work, whatever the heck they're doing upstairs, but alas, still going on. I hope you can still enjoy this while ignoring it, I guess. If you can't hear it, all the better, I suppose. Goodness knows I can. Anyway, but yeah, before I go into what I wanted to talk about, I forgot to share something yesterday. This. Have you ever wanted to have Shakespeare and Star Wars combined? This is a box set of the original trilogy of Star Wars in Shakespeare form. We have, let's see. Let's see. Star Wars, Verily A New Hope. We have The Empire Striketh Back. And we have The Jedi Doth Return. So basically this guy, Ian Dosher, I believe, basically combined his love of Shakespeare and Star Wars into this awesome project. He's been, as far as I know, he's done it for every single episode of Star Wars. He's done it for the prequel trilogy, and I believe he's done it for the sequel trilogy as well. So Star Wars episodes 1 to 9 each have a book like this. I just happen to have just episodes 4, 5, and 6 here. But yeah, it's not just for, I mean, you know, I'll also check out these designs as well. Like, these are fabulous. Or it's just, and it's not just all, I mean, it is all meant to be just funny. But, like, it's my kind of humor, okay? What I mean by that is, now, I enjoy some memes as much as the next person. But you know, people talk about low effort memes. I really like high effort memes. The kind of thing where it's like, you mad lad, you really did this, didn't you? And I wouldn't say that I'm a Shakespeare buff, but I do. I've learned enough in my language and literature classes and studies to appreciate Shakespeare, maybe about average or maybe a little higher than the average person. But essentially, this person, they tried to, not only did they try to put Star Wars in a Shakespearean language, he actually tried to, like, quote, not just Star Wars, but Shakespeare as well. For example, I believe he took some cues from Romeo and Juliet for the dialogue between Luke and Leia. No, not Luke and Leia, Han and Leia. Let me see, and but I haven't like read these all the way through. I'm just really happy to have them. Just look at that, Yoda with a ruff around that thing around his neck. It's called a ruff, I believe. But yeah, there's also like an afterword, and I'm going to read to you part of the afterword of this one, The Empire Striketh Back, because it gives some fun insight into the process here. So here we go. This is by the author himself. A winter's tale indeed, William Shakespeare's The Empire Striketh Back. Let me lift the curtain a bit to tell you about 4 aspects of what you just read. First of all, what does Yoda sound like in a galaxy filled with Elizabethan speech? This was the question that gnawed at me as I began to write this second Star Wars book. Yoda is famous for his inverted phrase order, but many people who read William Shakespeare's Star Wars commented that every character in it sounds a little like Yoda, right? So normally in normal standard English, the word order is subject, verb, object. I walked the dog. I am the subject. Walked is the verb, like I walked. But if the verb is transitive, like if it's a verb that's happening to something, then you have an object after that. I walked the dog, or I threw the ball, or I tossed the ball, and that's the subject order of English. All right, and again, I'll get into Conlang, some Conlang stuff a little bit later because it's a bit related. I just wanted to share this for fun, right? That's all this is, just chill and fun. So, but people talk about Yoda speak. Yoda speaks in a sort of slightly inverted order. The order is object, subject, verb. All right. For example, in episode 2, Yoda says, "To the forward command center, take me." If he were speaking in normal English, he would say, "Take me to the forward command center." Take, and like, so for like an imperative, for like a command, like do this, we don't usually have, like, usually the order is a bit inverted anyway, but the subject and verb, take me, is there, and then to the forward command center, it's its own like prepositional phrase. And so, object, subject, verb. To the forward command center, take me. Let's see, what's something else that Yoda actually says? Trying to remember, like, from like Empire Strikes Back or something. Episode 1, Yoda says to Anakin, to boy Anakin, "Afraid to lose her, are you?" Normally it'd be, "Are you afraid to lose her?" Are you afraid to lose her? So again, that's the inverted that he's talking about. But in Shakespeare, because Shakespeare has that iambic pentameter going on, we often have that sort of like what's an example for Shakespeare? I don't remember. Anyway, hopefully you get the idea. But yeah, so because everyone sounded like Yoda in Shakespeare, Ian Dosher was kind of at a loss as to what to do when Yoda appears in this Shakespeare setting, Shakespeare-like adaptation. So he said originally he had 4 different ideas. 1, do a complete reversal and have Yoda talk like a modern person. Stop it. Don't try. Either do it or don't do it seriously. Number 2, have Yoda talk in something like Old English, approximating Chaucer. Nay, do ye nay try, aber do it, oder do it not. My Chaucer admittedly isn't great. Neither is mine. Number 3, don't do anything special and have Yoda talk like the other characters. Or 4, repeat Yoda's lines verbatim from the movie, nodding to the fact that Yoda actually sounds a little Shakespearean. In the end, I had a 5th idea, which I hope was better than any of those. Yoda is a wise teacher, almost like a sensei. He has something of an Eastern sensibility about him. Why not express that by making all of his lines haiku? Yes, I know, Shakespeare never wrote in haiku, but he did break from iambic pentameter in certain cases. Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream speaks in iambic tetrameter. Songs in several Shakespearean works break meter and so on. And yes, I know, the 5-7-5 syllable pattern I adhere to in Yoda's haiku is a modern constraint, not part of the original Japanese poetic form. Most haiku are simpler than Yoda's lines and do not express complete sentences as Yoda's haiku do. I know. Remember, this isn't scholarship, it's fun. For you purists, if these haiku have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here, while these haiku did appear. So, anyway, let me see if I can find any of Yoda's like lines in here to kind of like show what happened, like how they approached it. Again, I haven't like read through these all the way through. Okay, here we go. So I found. So let's see. In Act 3, Scene 5, I see Luke and Yoda talking with each other. In the Dagobah system. Let's see. So Luke said, Darth Vader. Hold on. So Luke, as an aside, said, "This Yoda is indeed a teacher wise, and hath agreed to train me in the way of Jedi. Strong and quick I show myself with leaps and flips to train my body and instill within a Jedi's discipline. With the Force I like a sandbat fly. My spirit feeleth free, my muscles strong. My mind is calm inside, my heart is still. What gratitude I feel toward this new and treasured mentor. Thus I train my best. His expectations I'll not disappoint." "Now run, indeed run. A Jedi's strength doth surely come from the Force, Luke." That's and so these are all haikus, like, but mind the dark side. Anger, fear, aggression, from the dark side are they. Easily they flow, quick to join you in a fight. Aye, they do not fail. Once on the dark path, forever shall it control thy destiny, Luke. It shall consume thee, as it did the apprentice of good Obi-Wan. Luke, Darth Vader, legendary is his power, but Master, hath the dark side greater strength? Nay, nay, forsooth, nay. 'Tis quicker, easier, more seductive only. But how, good Master, shall I know the good side from the bad, the darkness from the light? Thou shalt know, my lad, when thou art calm and passive. I hope thou shalt know. And this is him speaking in aside. When faced with terror and with thy father's grim face, I hope thou shalt know. To Luke, a Jedi uses the Force only for knowledge and defense. Is it clear? The Force is no club, neither is it a weapon used for attacking. And so on and so forth. So, but yeah, and there's more in this afterward, but I won't bore you with all the details. But yeah, this is, and also look at this epic scene back here. Actually, you know what? I'm very curious to see how the Luke, how the no, I am your father thing happens. Let's see, inside Cloud City. Let's see, Act 5. Best in the Cloud City. No. Best in the Cloud City. I think I'm getting close to it. Okay. Okay, here we go. So they're dueling, right? Luke and Vader are dueling. There's some stage direction here. They duel. Darth Vader cuts off Luke's right hand with his lightsaber. Oh, horror! Oh, vast pain exceeding words! Thou shalt find no escape. Do not make me destroy thee. Great importance shalt thou have within the Empire's power, and thine own shall only grow with time. I prithee, join with me, and I your training shall complete. When our strength is combined, we shall conclude this bitter conflict and bring order to the galaxy entire. I never shall join with thee. I would rather be destroyed. The boy doth admirably keep his head, but now I shall unleash the final blow. If thou but knewest all the power of the dark side, Obi-Wan hath never told thee of what happened to thy father, Luke. Oh, he hath spoken much, and he hath told me of the truth, that thou didst slay him, aye, and without cause or mercy, murderer, most vile and wretched. No, I am thy father. Nay, 'tis not true. It is impossible. Pray, search thy feelings, Luke. Thou knowest it is true. Nay, Luke, thou mayest the Emperor destroy. He hath foreseen what thou wouldst do. It is thy destiny. Come, join with me. Together we shall rule the galaxy as son and father. Come now, Luke. It is the only way. The dark side is thy path. Oh, join with me, and we shall be as one. Luke looks down and drops into the cavern. I fall, and yet no death's upon me yet. I fall, for 'tis a better path than hate. He falls and welcomes death instead of power. He falls, but I can sense he liveth still. I have not died, but pass into this shaft. I have not died, though I may wish it so. He hath not died. His heart screams in its fear. He hath not died, so may he yet be turned. Luke falls onto a weather vane at the bottom of the shaft. I am held fast by this vane o'er the clouds. I am held fast by some miraculous power. He is held fast within the dark side's grasp. He is held fast by his own clouded mind. Exit Darth Vader. And then Luke calls out to Ben, O Ben, I call to thee, what? But wilt thou hear? I do remember, thou didst say that thou couldst not interfere in this. But, O Ben, hear, alas, my mentor is gone forever, and gives no answer, even deserted by the dead. If you cannot appear and rescue me, then I shall try the living. Leia, next. I call to thee, I prithee, Leia, here. And then enter Chewbacca, Princess Leia, and Lando aside, and in the Millennium Falcon, and so on and so forth. So, but yeah, lots and lots of fun. I'm very, very happy to have this. And I also have, like, I don't know exactly what this, also this, like, you know, wide art and everything as well. Just, you know, fun, cool stuff. But when I so apart from that, what I planned to talk with you guys about was some conlang stuff. What is a conlang? Conlang is short for constructed language. Basically, so a constructed language is a language that was made up, a language that was a fictional language created by somebody. So the most famous examples are so Klingon. The Star Trek language, it is a fully developed language. So people have learned to speak Klingon. So I'm aware that I've never watched Game of Thrones, and I don't plan to. I do not plan to, but I am aware that Game of Thrones has some conlangs in it as well. Like David Peterson, I believe. And then, of course, the most famous example for fiction is Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien with Lord of the Rings. He created Kenya and Sindarin, which are these Elvish languages. He created other languages and things. If you didn't know, Tolkien created the languages first, and the world and the stories second. So I had a class in college in which we talked about constructed languages. This was a capstone class for my English language linguistics major. And basically, these two professors talked about constructed languages, and we looked especially at how Tolkien created languages. And basically, the whole class, there was no exam or anything. It was just all we had to do was a few assignments that helped us to create our own languages. And from there, I kind of made that as sort of a side hobby, I guess, one of the several random little things that I enjoy doing. So while I was in college, I grabbed this. This is a Moleskine book. It's a Moleskine notebook with a Tolkien Moleskine notebook. So specifically, it has some Hobbit quotes and images and stuff in it and whatever. This is my conlang journal or conlang notebook, essentially. And so in that class, I created a language which I called Tekrid. And basically, the process of how you create, and so you can create a language however you want, really. But the process that we used in the class, the rather methodical approach was, first of all, to make up 100 words. Just make them up. Make up 100 words, and don't worry about it. Don't worry about how they sound or what they look like. So I just kept doing that, and then after that, don't worry about what they mean either. Just make them up. Make up words that sound cool to you or that sound right to you, I guess. Afterwards, you kind of make a phonology, which is basically so after you make up these words, you assign meaning to them. So I made a list of, in class we use something called the Swadesh list, which is like a list of 100 or so, or a couple hundred terms that are very common terms. All right, you can see how I just sort of, it was rather arbitrary. If something sounded right for a definition, I just used it. For example, when I looked at a word that I created, kneck, I just thought that was a fun word. I didn't have any meaning to it when I made it up. It's just kneck. And then I looked at the Swadesh list and I thought, ooh, sharp. Yeah, kneck. That sounds sharp to me. So yeah, I put that. So now the word kneck means sharp, as you can see right there. I did the same thing for a while, and then after that, I came up with a phonology. A phonology is essentially you organize all the different sounds, and you figure out which sounds you use in that language. And I found out that I tended to really like the B's and the K's and the G's and the V's and stuff like that. And you'll see, like, you know, there are some sounds in here that are not in English, and there are some sounds in English that are not in Tekrid. For example, there's a tl sound, like a TL, but it's like an aspirated tl. It's found in Navajo and other languages. I decided to put it's not really in English, not that specific sound anyway. So I decided it sounded cool enough to put in Tekrid. Let me see here. There aren't really any Fs at all. There are any are actually v, like V's, not Fs. So as an example of that, and also vowels and things like that. I was going to use the Cyrillic alphabet. I considered using the Cyrillic alphabet, like the alphabet you see with Russian, but I decided I would just use IPA, which is the International Phonetic Alphabet, so that anyone who knows IPA, which is actually pretty simple, each character, like it's used internationally, and each character represents one sound. So and a, like a, and all have different like representations in the International Phonetic Alphabet. Next, we have the nominal system. This is how you make your nouns, your adjectives, and things like that. So I made grids on like, you know, what kind. If a noun is in subject case, then here's a singular and a plural version of that. How do you make them into adjectives? I split nouns into count nouns and non-count nouns, meaning sun is a count noun. You can count the number of suns. Ice is a non-count noun. You don't count the number of ices. You count how much or how little ice there is. And so I had different systems for those. And also pronouns as well. Next, you figure out the verbal system, the different aspects of verbs. Past tense, present tense, future tense, subject agreement, aspect, passive voice, active voice. And I even added something, direction. You can add something to indicate what direction the verb is going as well. For example, tlanderak is the word for walk. And so if you're saying you're walking towards something, you would say sh tlanderak. If you're saying you're walking down, you say a tlanderak, and so on and so forth. I discovered the same thing that you realize with what Tolkien did. When you create a language, even if you have nothing else, if you have just the language itself, you're actually also creating the culture of the people, because language and culture are bound together very, very tightly. And so I started to get a sense for what the people of this language what they're kind of like, and kind of the setting that this language would be in. An example of this is the word Tekrid. In the language of Tekrid, it means we. It's the second person. It's a second person plural pronoun, right? We. Okay. Tekrid means we. However, I decided it would be kind of fun to put a little spin on this. I imagine there are two different kinds of we. There's the inclusive we and the exclusive we. I could tell you that we, my wife and I, we had a Star Wars Rebels marathon. You, unless my wife is watching this for some reason, which I don't think she is, but if for some reason my wife is watching this, then yeah, that would, you and I, we did that. However, if you are not me or my wife, you are not part of that we. So when I say we had a Star Wars, so my wife and I, we had a Star Wars Rebels marathon on Christmas Eve, that's an exclusive we. That does not include who I'm speaking to, you. If, however, but an inclusive we it does include you. For example, we are engaging on YouTube. I'm including you and I in that. You and I are engaging on YouTube. You see me in a video and you're watching it, and I am speaking to you and through that video. So that's an inclusive we. So inclusive we, exclusive we. So the inclusive we is Tekrid. The exclusive we is Tekre without the D at the end. And so because I had this idea that the speakers of Tekrid are very inclusive, and they care about they care about being together, being a group of people. They care about community. And so the word Tekrid is not complete unless it's the inclusive we version, right? So that's just a fun little thing, fun little bit of culture that I added as I was figuring out how this language would go. I also decided this would be a language of people who came from Earth, from an apocalyptic Earth, and settled in a different planet called Tekra. And I created a solar system. I'll show you what that. And I created a solar system that has of kind of like I made all kinds of like weird stuff for this fictional solar system. But one of the assignments in this class, we had to make culturally specific words. So I chose a bunch of space words. I decided that the U or the Y sound would be attached to more like space type things. For example, let's see. So U would be kind of like the word for star, essentially. Yura is the word for planet. Eutechian, it's star family or a galaxy. So Techian is the word for family. You slap a U in front of it, it's star family, or another term for a galaxy. If you want to talk about a system of planets, it's a Euratechian, a planet family. Moon would be Yepe. Let's see here. Supernova. I had U-Black, which is star blast. Nebula is Upesh, which means star dust. A portal. Let's see here. Kuyakera. That's space door. And space is Kuya. And orbit, Syorn. I don't know how. I just think I just came up with that just for fun. But yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, here is the Tekra system. All right. In the very, very middle, we have Glamakeyu, which means big star or grand star. That's the star of this system. Next, we have Kevelyu, which is which means near star. That's the closest planet. And then next we have Tlenol and Tlenot. We have these two planets sharing the same orbit, but they also orbit around each other as well. I didn't say this was logically or scientifically sound. I just had fun with it. Next we have Pekatine Oyura, which means balanced planet, because I believe it's Neptune that has a vertical ring. It also has a vertical ring, and I also decided it would have a vertical orbit. So most orbits are like, horizontal, while this one is vertical. Next, we have Tekra, which is the word for home. That's the home planet of the people who speak the Tekrid language. It's kind of like how we call this planet Earth, which is also our word for the literal dirt and ground this Earth is made of. And then after that, I went really crazy, and I had two different crossing orbits. All right. So on this orbit, we have the couple of aggressive planets, while this orbit had a couple of planets that were acted upon. So we have Knekdim, which is sharp disk, and then we have Glamat, which means big ring. And then here we have Tlavolyuta, which is split planet, as well as Tlavoyepe, which is split moon. And then we have Tlankoyuta, which is broken planet. The pieces of Tlankoyuta still stay together somehow, whether it be magnetic or something. But basically, the idea I had was that Knekdim, as it goes around the orbit, since these orbits cross, Knekdim has split Tlankoyuta, and Glamat has broken Tlavoyuta. Knekdim has split Tlavoyuta, and Glamat has broken Tlankoyuta. So, yeah. Earlier this month, I shared on Twitter a board game that I created which basically it's kind of like chess, except you play with all these different planet pieces, and it's named after all these different planets. Word order. So you know how earlier I talked about word order and how standard English is subject, verb, object. I walked the dog, and how Yoda has a more inverted word order. Not always though. Like Yoda actually has said, "You must confront Vader," which is not object, subject, verb. But I decided, you know what? I'll go with the Yoda syntax. Why not? Object, subject, verb, right there. So instead of I throw the rock, it's rock I throw. And so here's I throw the rock there. Okram Bitlam Gitlekim. Ah, my gosh. Creating this language doesn't automatically make you proficient. All right. I'm not proficient in the language. Actually, here's another example. So there is a phrase that I created called there's a phrase that I created called Bogak Betlemji Jublik Tegraji, which means where you are, their home is. So the second part of that, their home is, that's the sort of inverted order, right? Home is there, or their home is, right? So yeah, and I have all kinds of things for, like, how do you form questions, how do you form commands, stative sentences, and things like that. Compound sentences or complex sentences, and so forth. Little bits of lore, and so forth. So yeah, that is, and since then I've created a few more words because I've been, until recently I haven't really found a place to use Tekrid. It was a school project, and I've been looking for a way to use Tekrid somehow. And I was fortunate enough to be involved with Banner Media Studios and to be involved in their very first, published production, Almost Home, a radio play in 3 parts. Which, by the way, the third and final episode is coming out this Saturday on January 2nd, so I'm very excited about that. But essentially, the main character is called Rover in that radio play. And I decided it would be a lot of fun to have Rover be native to Tekra, essentially. And so it was a really, really fun opportunity to use this language and this culture that I created elsewhere for this radio play. What did I do? Everything that has to do with Tekrid takes up this much of the book. All right. So what did I do with the rest of it? Well, first of all, I thought the next thing I would do is look at the languages in Legend of Zelda, the Legend of Zelda games. So I wrote down all of the different alphabets and everything. I made a PowerPoint presentation about all of this at some point. That's a video I would like to make sometime in the near future, though, because I lost the PowerPoint, so I need to make it again. But essentially, I studied and looked at all the different languages, especially the languages in Breath of the Wild, to see to see if there could be some in-world explanation for all of the different some sort of in-world explanation for the in the Zelda timeline, right? Because I love Zelda lore, and I mean I know as well as the next person that the people at Nintendo they make it up as they go along. They never had any grand plan for it. They just kind of we'll slap it together like this. I have all 3 Zelda lore books, by the way. Hyrule Historia, Arts and Artifacts, and the Zelda Encyclopedia. Hyrule Encyclopedia, whatever it is. I have all 3 of those books. Don't remember where they are now, but I have them. So, but yeah, that is a small side project that I'd like to, a very small side project I'd like to do sometime in the near future, complete sometime in the near future. Take all these notes that I have in here about Zelda linguistics and present my findings, what I found of all the different, because I think there's some interesting conclusions you can draw from some of the stuff that I've found. I made some sketches about where each of the different scripts appear on the timeline, it's very interesting actually. For example, you find one script in Minish Cap, and you find that same script. And it looks similar to the script you find in Ocarina of Time. And that same script appears later in Majora's Mask, of course, which then kind of morphs into what you see in Twilight Princess. However, a similar script is found in Wind Waker as well, I think. And then also, these letters up here, up in Skyward Sword, you see them appear in Breath of the Wild, which is just kind of crazy to me. But yeah, there's that. I actually do also have, and also the Gerudo language in Breath of the Wild fascinates me. because you have because we actually have snippets of the different words in Gerudo in Breath of the Wild. For example, Savak, I think is like good morning. Vo and Vi for man and woman. I think you have Vevi. I think that means like child or something. Or maybe that's grandmother. I can't remember. One of the two. Where are my notes about that? Gerudo. Where do I have all the Gerudo words? I should have them somewhere. I also have all the Sheikah alphabets and everything. Frick. Where did I put them? Huh. Oh yeah, here we go. Hello, good day is Savak. Good night is Savsaba. Good morning, Savota. Goodbye, Savork. Child or baby is Vevi, I think. Thank you, Sarkso. Man is Vo. Woman is Vi. Welcome is Vasak, I think. Grandmother, Vaba. And bird, Vure. So those are the words that we know in the Gerudo language in Breath of the Wild. And I just thought it was so cool that the Gerudo have their confirmed their own language. And also I thought it'd be fun to also like list all of the different names for each of the races in Breath of the Wild, to see if there are any like words or sounds or whatever that are unique to that civilization. I haven't found anything yet, but anyway, I hope to make a PowerPoint of all of it. There is more in this book. There is one other fully realized constructed language that I created for Banner Media, but I'm not going to share that because I actually did sign a non-disclosure agreement. So I don't want to share the details of that language. But rest assured, eventually there will be a project in Banner that will use another language that I created. And maybe there will be other projects that I'm involved in where people will want constructed languages. And I will be able to create them for them. So it's one of those things where I'd love to be able to like, it'd be cool to make money off of it, but it's such a niche thing that, well, who's going to pay a couple $100 for me to create a fictional language, right? Because there actually is a society of, there actually is like a group or a society out there for conlangers, people who create constructed languages. I'm not a member of that society. There are dues you have to pay for and stuff for like newsletter and conventions and all the different things to keep the society going, the organization going. But I look into it every so often. They even have a job board, which is pretty empty for most of the time. On that job board, though, they have a section that gives suggested prices for conlang work, essentially, and it ranges from about $50 to $300 depending on how developed you want the language to be. So for a lot of people, especially I imagine most of my audience, that's a lot of money. That's more money than you would spend for an art commission, for the average art commission, for example. So that's why I haven't really. It's just my skill of being able to create languages and my love of creating languages just doesn't come up that often because. First of all, not a lot of people ask for it, seem to need it. Second of all, if I were to ask for payment, not a lot of people would be able to pay for it. So, yeah, and I mean, it's kind of the same. It's sort of another thing with like, my being an editor, right? I want to, I would like to be able to like, offer my services as an editor, but also to like be able to, because I have professional experience in editing, and so I kind of like I don't want to like cheapen the craft by saying, hey, I'll do it for free. At the same time, I also know that money is certainly an issue for a lot of people, especially a lot of young people, and a lot of people just in 2020 in general. So yeah, there you go. Language, conlangs, that sort of thing, just something I'm just fascinated by. So. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow. All the best.